All right, everybody, welcome to Studio B. I am your host, Pastor MDA. Thank you so very much for joining us here on the set today. I want to first thank you from the bottom of my heart for every last one of you that helped us to get to 45,000 subscribers. You like, you comment, you subscribe, you tune in, you share, you do all of these things in support of Studio B, the podcast. And I just want to tell you from the bottom of my heart, we greatly appreciate you. I believe that knowledge is power. I believe that when you are informed, you become empowered. And I pray that every time that you close off this podcast, you are better than when you logged on. So thank you, everybody, for your support and all that you are doing for this particular platform. With that, we are now in the early part of June, 6 months into the new year, 2024. Let me just say from a very 30,000 foot view with me, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in between these ears of mine. There's a lot of thoughts that come and go, a lot of things that I think about, a lot of things that I ponder, life in general, family, wife, kids, finances, spirituality, problems, life be lifing kind of deal. So there's a lot of stuff to be rattling around in my mind. I try my best to compartmentalize certain thoughts so that I am productive in how I think and how I move and the rhythm of my life, as to not let one box touch another box. It's been rightfully said that men have brains like waffles and women have brains like spaghetti. Men compartmentalize, take one problem at a time, make sure that problem is done, taken care of before we move on to another one. With a woman, every thought, every problem is connected to another issue and to another problem. And so thus you get the waffle and the spaghetti type of brain. So inside of my head here, I think about a lot, but then I try to make sure that I'm not overthinking anything in one particular set or portion of my life as to be bombarded with issues that I cannot tackle. And so last night during our men's night, I asked a young man that I'm mentoring, I say, how do you know that you are a man? And do you know what you want? And it's kind of this question that kind of is thrown into the atmosphere that we really don't have a real answer behind necessarily, because we don't really think about it to the depths that we need to think about it and disseminate that information in our minds so that we know how to process it, because many of us are not taught how to talk and think through the issues of our lives. And so I asked him this question, and he stood there kind of like a deer in headlights. He'd never been asked that question. And I think many of us who are watching right now, you've never asked yourself the question and really thought intently through it about who I am as a person, who I am specifically right now as a man. What am I achieving? How do I achieve it? How do I get there? What's the road that I'm on? How do I determine success? How do I determine how I move? What's the rhythm of my life? Many people just kind of wake up, hit the reset button, and so Tuesday looks just like Monday, Monday looks just like Sunday, Sunday looks just like Saturday, and we just continue to do the same things over and 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 again, with no change to our lives. And so a year goes by, 5 years goes by, a decade goes by, and before you know it, 2 decades, 3 decades have passed your life, and you don't know where they went. And you are the same at 50 that you were at 30. Nothing has progressed in your life in any way, shape, and or form. And so I asked this question about, how do you know that you are a man? What's the rhythm of your life? How do you prove that? And I've talked to men a lot. And I mean a lot. A lot of my ministry is dealt with dealing with men in every different way point of life, from successful men to non-successful men to black men, white men, and everything in between, to Democrat, Republican. You think about whatever social division that there is out there. We've talked to men in all of those different capacities. And this is par for the course for men. And I say this was not going to be a part of the podcast until I just looked at some notes that I just had. But I will say this. Men are some of the most, right now in our time, some of the most misdirected people that we have. We don't know how to be men because we don't have any strong men that are going before us that are laying the foundation that many men should be walking in the paths of. And so most men are out there just trying to figure it out. And I will say this to you. You're not a man because of age. You're not a man because of age. You don't pass over the age of 21 and then become a man, or pass over the age of 30 and now you are a man. A man, making a distinction between a man and a male, is different in regards to your age capacity. Because there are some old guys out there that are males, but not men. They are males, but not men. And I'm talking 40, 50, 60 years old. So you don't become a man until you mature into being a man. So last night I shared that men don't chase happiness. Men chase fulfillment. Women chase happiness. Men don't chase happiness. Men chase fulfillment. Every man wants their life to count for something. Every man, at the end of the day, when you lay your head down at night, you want to be able to say to yourself in your inward being that you've accomplished something. You've left a part of your legacy in the world. Men don't search for happiness. Happiness is an elusive chase that when you catch it, you'll only experience it but for a moment. Happiness comes, and as quick as it comes, it leaves. So I would tell men never to live your life chasing happiness because it is a very elusive dream. You chase fulfillment. You chase fulfillment and purpose and direction. As a man, if you live your life searching for the happiness moment, you will live your life in a roller coaster type of moment. Up, down, in and out. You don't know who you're going to get one day for another, right? Because happiness is not sustainable. For a man oftentimes will sacrifice his peace at the greater expense for peace of his family. And so the average man I'm talking about a man. I'm not talking about a male that has crossed over into 21 to 30 to 40. I'm talking about a man that has matured in life and has learned some lessons in life that he is now applying to his everyday life. I'm talking about a man that is matured, that has matured or is maturing in life. That man lives life by moments of sacrifice. It's just what we do. We sacrifice to the detriment of our own selves for the benefit of others and those around us. We will sacrifice our own safety to ensure that the safety of those that we love are intact. We live lives of sacrifice. That's just what we do. That's not healthy to a large degree, but it's just what we do. And so as we are living this life, we are living life chasing fulfillment and purpose and direction. We're not living life chasing happiness. As a man, you need to stop trying to chase being happy. Happy is a feeling. It's a moment of nostalgia, and it will be gone as quickly as it arrived. You live life as a man chasing fulfillment, purpose, and destiny. That is our calling as men. The problem with that is that it can quickly become unbalanced if you don't have somebody in your life to counteract that dynamic. So I will never go home, and have never went home, to dump the problems of my life onto my wife. About the difficulties that I may have had at the office, on the job, in life, in wherever it may be. I don't dump all of that stuff on my wife. I share things with my wife, but I don't dump all of my issues on my wife, because if I do that, I destroy her peace. So what type of life are you living as a man? What type of life are you living as a man? What type of life are you living as a man? One, I want to give you 5 things that I think you should be doing as a man. Now, this is not an exhaustive list. I am not an expert on this, but I believe that these 5 things work. And I believe that these 5 things are beneficial to your psyche, to your well-being, and your calling to be a man. 1, a man must live with intention. A man must live with intention. A man must live with intention. 1, I got to know what I'm doing. I got to know how to do it, and I got to know how to get it done. A man must live with intention. A man's got to be intentional about his living and about his life. So 1, you got to live by intention. 2, you got to live with passion. You got to live with passion. That's got to be something that gets you out of bed every morning. And going to work and paying the bills has got to be something more than getting you out of bed to that normal rigmarole of life. 2, you got to live with passion. That's got to be something that you're so passionate about that you can do it without getting paid. And if you can do it without getting paid, if you do it, you will get paid very handsomely. Right? You got to have passion about something that wakes you up in the morning. What are you passionate about? What are you passionate about? 1, you got to live with intentional. You got to be intentional. 2, you got to live with passion. And then 3, now hear this, 3 is very, very, very important. I'll say 3 for 5. I'll say 3 for the last. So the first one, you got to live intentionally. 2, you got to live with passion. 3, you got to live with direction. Men, you have to know where you are going. A roadmap. Nobody gets in their car and just starts driving for the sake of driving. You drive with a destination in mind. Or at least you should. Nobody just, walks out the house and start walking with no destination in mind. Where you're going is one of the most important discoveries that you'll ever find in your life. You have to live with direction. Like today, where are you going today? What have you accomplished today? What box did you check today? Where are you going? You woke up this morning and you did the exact same thing that you did yesterday. Well, my question to you is, where were you going yesterday, and did you make it there? Did you make it to your destination yesterday? Are you going to make it to your destination today? Right? Where are you going? What is the direction of your life? Right? You got to live with some direction. Stop getting up every morning. Stop waking up every day and doing the same thing that you did the day before, because yesterday you didn't get to where you were trying to go. And if you employ the same tactics that you did yesterday, there's a high probability that you're going to achieve the exact same results today. So you got to live with some direction. Fourthly, you have to live with character. Men, you can't be. Let me say this let me say it the way that I'm feeling. I was getting ready to try to parse my words. I'm not going to do that. Men, you got to live with some character. Your word has got to be your word. Your bond has got to be your bond. If you say you're going to do something, do it. Now, life be lifing. We all know that. Life happens. Life happens. It does to all of us, even with the best of intentions. But I got to live with some character. People got to be able to trust me. People got to feel safe around me. People got to be able to trust that when they are around me, things are settled and they are calm. My character can't be up one day, down the next. Up one day, down the next. In and out. Live my life with no type of consistency. When you see me, you should know what you're going to get. And be very consistent in that living. And then lastly, it should have been first, but I'm going to leave it for last. Now, I believe this. I don't care what the world talks about. I'll stand all by myself and say this. But you have to live with a spiritual purpose in mind. A man has to be a spiritual man. Okay? Got to be a spiritual man. Got to be a spiritual man. I would say that 5 is number 1, but I put it at number 5 so that I can take a couple minutes here so that you understand that you are a spirit being that is wrapped inside of flesh that will only be on this earth for a period of time. The spirit that resides on the inside of you will live forever, and ever, somewhere up or down in eternity. A man that does not have a spiritual connection with God, and yes, there is a God. Stop lying to yourself talking about there is no God. There is a God. And there's a God that can be known. There is a God, and there is a spiritual connection that must be on the inside of every single man in order for that man to understand his purpose, his destiny, and where he is going. He cannot live with passion. He cannot live with intentionality. He cannot live with direction. He cannot have character. He cannot have any of those things to a very deep degree until he understands who he is spiritually. And there's too many unspiritual men. So, men, remember, I need you to like, comment, and subscribe. Then hit that little bell notification so that you don't miss anything that comes from the Set of Studio B. We thank you so much, man. We love y'all.